What's up, everybody? I appreciate you guys being here. As always, this is Shot 30 Podcast, and I am Shane Newbert, and today we have a very special episode. We have a special guest and a special guest host. This is the first time we've ever done this. My niece, Emma Coghill, also known as Emma K, will be hosting this episode of Shot 30 Podcast with influencer, jewelry designer, book writer, Kodye Elyse, and this is absolutely a great episode. It was very cool to sit back in the passenger seat and watch an episode for the first time. Shot 30 Podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, CastBox, and YouTube. If you're watching, please hit that subscribe now. We want to say thank you guys all for being here and enjoy the episode.
We are going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is Shot 30 Podcast Takeover with Emma Coghill and Kodye Elyse. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, CastBox. #1 comedy interview podcast in the Bahamas, #4 in the UK, and #11 in Ireland. So we are just going to continue to grow. We have in studio today Kodye Elyse. She's blowing up on TikTok. She's blowing up on Instagram and just blowing up in general. So hi, welcome, and thank you for coming in.
Thanks for thinking of me. How are you?
I'm doing great. Even better now that you're here. I've only been counting down for a week, so you started TikTok about a year ago in April, so happy belated TikTok anniversary. You blew up fast, though. That was probably overwhelming for you, almost. Like, how did you even decide to do TikTok? Was it a quarantine decided to do it thing, or?
Yes. I used to do, you probably know my kids aren't on social media anymore, but in the beginning I used to just do dances with my kids to kind of, throughout the day give us something to do. Yeah. And then one of my first viral videos was with my daughter, and the comments on it were really gross. So as of that point, I deleted all the videos with them and don't have it anymore. But that's how it started. Yeah.
Awesome. And so so I did my research, so don't think I'm being crazy. I just did my research. So you hit your 400K in September. So April to September, that was awesome. You hit your million and 2 million in December. How was that for you? Just like crazy?
Crazy. It's obviously when you get on an app like that, you're kind of hoping to go viral. Yeah. I never thought that would happen. When I first started, I was like, how cool would it be to have 20,000 followers? Right. Like, that was cool. Right. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And then, it was so cool. I don't want to seem ungrateful for that, but it was also extremely hard on my mental health. It was overnight, I turned into this person that a lot of people knew, and I was so much more judged and criticized and wasn't prepared. I feel like when it's a gradual growth, you kind of get more prepared for it. It was like so much adrenaline, and your nervous system is just shot because it's almost like so much anxiety that you're finally getting everything you wanted, and you're just like, I don't want it to get taken away.
For sure. That's how I feel about my 4,000 followers.
Yeah, absolutely. Same. Honestly, though, when I first started, I was like, 1,000 I thought was like a good goal. So
right. Yeah, for sure. I about had a heart attack. So you followed me back in December, and I was like, what? Excuse me? What? So that was amazing. I fangirled so hard in my response video to your comment. And that's when kind of all that women empowerment movements were going. But I think you kind of had that message before. So you had that message. What happened? Oh, no, I hear you. Okay. So you had that message before any of the teams started.
Yeah. Which is why it started, because the idea was to keep doing that. Yeah. And I think that we all had good intent.
Support for Shot 30 Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who's the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped just released the 4.0 package, and it's absolutely incredible. I'm telling you, I just did my whole body. Toes, midsection, upper top, whatever you guys want. I did it all in minutes because Manscaped has a new engineered tool, the 4.0. You can use it in the shower. I mean, it can get wet and it just zooms through. It has an LED light built on the end. Their cologne is some of the best smelling cologne I've ever had, and their underwear, oh, let me tell you what, the boys feel pretty good down south. So visit manscaped.com, use the promo code SHOT30, that is SHOT, the number 30. SHOT30 at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. That is manscaped.com. Unleash your confidence. Your balls will thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got the tattoo, so
we're all same. And people are always like, "Are you gonna cover it?" I'm like, absolutely not. That was like a important time in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine is the same. Like, mine's not the exact same as what you guys got. Mine's actually more like a different version of it. But I got it, and even though it's over, it's fine and dandy. But I just remind myself that I'm a bad bitch, thanks to you, actually.
Yes. So, and that stands for that, you know. So it's not like that like goes away when friendships end. It's just
right.
Still...
Yeah, absolutely. So about your tattoos, I was actually in your live when you were talking about getting your Medusa tattoo. And also I've followed you since May of last year, I think. And then I did see your Neverland tattoo for your baby girl, and that absolutely like warmed my whole heart. So my husband and I actually have been trying to conceive for 4 years now, almost 3.5, and haven't had luck. And then I saw that you kind of went through something similar, development issues and stuff like that, and I saw the Neverland tattoo and thought that was just, you know, incredible. I have a little ruby and wings for my baby girl that I lost. So yeah, and then her due date was in July, and so we named her Ruby. But
so cute.
Yeah, but what is your most meaningless tattoo? I was curious about that. Like, what is the most meaningless one to you?
Oh my god. I tattooed. Oh my god, I'm trying to think of everything I have. I feel like I'm like, oh, you want to know a good one?
Yes.
I'm exposing myself right now.
It's okay.
Okay, so when I was 18, me and my friend heard that if you got a lip tattoo, that it goes away in 6 months.
Yes.
So we were like, what's the craziest thing that we could get? Can I like swear on this?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can drop F-bombs like whatever you want.
Okay, perfect, because you know I have a sailor mouth.
Same.
So
you'll get to know that.
So we walk in, because we're thinking it's going to be very temporary. So we walk in, and she got fuck tattooed, and I got bitch tattooed. And I am 33 years old, and it's still there. Here, like, you can barely see.
Oh my god.
But
that's
yeah,
so much fun. So
fun.
I actually have neat tattooed on my wrist, and it has just 2 dots, just neat. Dot.
Like, yeah, neat.
Yeah.
Cool.
Neat.
Yeah.
Anybody?
You have a lot too. I think when you have so many, it just like doesn't matter anymore.
Literally. So actually about your tattoos. So I've been a recruiter for the last 10 years. So that's what I actually started doing. And that's kind of why Shane was like, I think you'd be great at a podcast because all you do is talk to people every day of your life. So here we are. I've always been kind of under that stigma, kind of ingrained into your head that you can't have tattoos showing, like you can't have whatever. And I will tell you, so I did have one tattoo on my hand. It was just my finger whiskers until I started following you. And then I was like, you know, fuck this. I'm doing what I want. And I got hand tattoos like all over now. Like, so thank you for encouraging me to be myself, because that is who I am.
That makes me so happy. When I get those comments that like I'm helping people with their confidence or whatever, like that's why I have continued to do all of this through the kind of hard times too. That means a lot to me.
Yeah,
and
of course.
I feel like tattoos are getting a little more acceptable now.
Yes.
I kind of always knew that I was not like a corporate, I've always been like outside of the box. So, and I waited until I was, I want to say maybe like 28, 29 to get my hands done.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, not that I suggest that to everybody.
Yes.
But for me, I just knew that wasn't ever going to be like an issue. So
yeah. So I actually didn't get my first tattoo until I was 23. So
I was a lot more irresponsible than that. So good for you.
I was into piercings for a while, and then I discovered tattoos. And I'm like, okay, Look at
yes.
that.
I went through the piercing phase too.
So you had mentioned earlier when you blew up, it was a little overwhelming and like hard on your mental health. But you keep going, and because of what you believe in and how you kind of hold yourself to being a good, not just role model. Because I mean, I'm almost the same age as you, so I guess role model maybe. I don't know. Peer, whatever you want to call you. I wouldn't call you a peer. Yes, absolutely. But like obviously you get negative stuff sometimes. Is it just more beneficial for you for the positive to kind of outweigh the negative? Like,
yeah, there's days that I have for sure thought about like, is it worth it doing this? Sometimes the negative is a lot louder than the positive because hateful people tend to like want to tell you why they're hateful, and positive people sometimes just like your content or whatever. So yeah, there's definitely been times that I've considered that, but at the end of the day, first of all, it's supporting my kids.
Right.
Like I'm able to give them this life now that I never thought when I got divorced 3 years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
So beyond the money though, it's so, I feel like we almost empower each other. Like it's empowering to me to empower other people. So
yes, absolutely.
It's helped me when I very first started this. You probably remember if you started following me in May or something. Which like thank you for following me for that long. That's great.
I adore you. I think you're great. So
thank you. So you probably know I went through a really bad breakup then.
Yes.
So I used this to heal, and I feel like that's why I have like more of a community, not just like followers. Like I feel like we almost like protect each other and look out for each other because people saw me grow and people saw me heal, and that app did this for me. And it also gave me some of my very best friends.
Right.
So yeah, the positives have way outweighed the negatives, although some days it doesn't feel like that, but usually, yeah.
I try to catch your lives as often as I can. So I do sometimes see when you have those days where it's like, and I'm actually a moderator on your No Thank You Sir page. So whenever you see Emma, it's usually me because I don't see a lot of those. I don't see a lot of that out. But yeah, that's me.
You muted often, so I appreciate that.
So Shane actually, and I wanted to say thank you to Shane for allowing me to even host his podcast. This is actually the first time that he's let anybody take over his podcast.
Okay.
And yes, so Shane being obviously my uncle, this is basically my cousin because this podcast is his baby. So,
yes.
So yeah. So I wanted to say thank you to Shane, and just shout out to you, guy. But he actually, so he's blowing up on TikTok too right now. I don't know if you got to check out any of his stuff, but
I don't think I you, but I don't think I looked at him.
Oh, you've seen me. Okay.
Yes.
My content is all over the place, but I just haven't found my niche yet. Like, I'll find it someday.
Sometimes I'm even all over the place still. It's just
for sure.
One specific thing.
Yeah. But yeah, so blowing up overwhelming. So the whole reason I started following you in general is because you started to post the, like one of the TikToks that you posted, and somebody's like, how do you get the self-esteem that you have? And you're like, fucking fake it until you feel like the baddest bitch in the room. And that was one of my favorite ones because I was like, you know what? Like, I'm obviously not like the tiniest or the prettiest or whatever, but like, I mean, thank you. But so I didn't really post a lot on TikTok. Like, I mostly just watched. And then I was like, you know what? She's not wrong. Like, fuck that. I'm going to be a little bad bitch. I'm going to see what I can do. Not that I'm bad bitching at all, but I'm trying. And that's because of you. So another thing that I kind of thought that kind of drew me to you was like, you work on forgiveness, and not just forgiveness to other people. Like, obviously you forgive other people for yourself, not necessarily for them. You do it because you want to be able to move forward and grow. And I think that's awesome. But then also you still do take accountability for the things that you've done that have brought you to that point, and then you forgive yourself. And that's the important part. Whenever I've noticed that I'm like depressed or I'm in a bad space, it's because I need to forgive myself for whatever is giving me that guilt or whatever's making me feel like self-doubt or shame about anything. Right.
And I think that's like one of the hardest things to do. But I've worked really hard. I'm in therapy every week still. Yeah, I feel like, and somebody asked me about just like being a mom the other day and how are you being a mom when you're depressed and things like that. And that's exactly what I said. I said, you have to forgive yourself. You're a human. If you're not as present as you want to be, or like, that's even with friends. Like, you know, I'll go weeks without texting my best friend and she just knows why. And then I come back and we're fine, you know, and you have to just forgive yourself for maybe not being the best version of yourself. And yeah, taking accountability, you know, I know that there's a little talk about that, but I know that of course I take accountability for every mistake. I'm human, you know,
and that's kind of
you do that.
Obviously you have like 3.2 million people, and maybe people forget that you're a human. Like, do they forget? Maybe are you a secret robot, Kodye? Can you tell me, please?
Yes, I'm actually a hologram. I am not real.
I knew it. Dang it.
No, I get that all the time. I feel like people more think TikTok's like a reality show. Like
yes.
They don't, you know.
I actually told my husband the same thing. I was like, you know, with COVID and everything like that, like reality shows aren't really being filmed right now. And like people are obviously making money on TikTok. And maybe that's like the whole plan. Like maybe that's the whole plan is that's the new reality TV. So yeah.
Especially I think people scroll TikTok instead of watching TV now because it holds your attention so much easier.
Yes.
And yeah, it got so big over it because it used to just be like a teenage app, and now adults are on it too a lot.
I know, so, yeah. I'm 29 and I see girls and I'm like, what'd you just do? What'd you just do that? But good for them, you know, feel it. I like seeing the people that are younger than me growing up in a different way because I grew up with mental health issues. I grew up with depression, self-esteem issues. Like girl, I didn't even wear a crop top until this year for the first time ever.
As you should.
And
I didn't for a really long time either, though. Even though I've never been like, I don't know, I didn't believe that I was beautiful for a really long time, and I wasn't secure in my own body, and I didn't have, like, I knew I wanted to dress a certain way. Like, I would see celebrities dress like that, and I'm like, I want to wear that. And you just, like, don't feel secure enough to do that. And then one day I was like, fuck it.
Right. And that's kind of like the other thing too is like, yes, a lot of people will tell you, and I see it in your comments because I check your vibe checks in your comments and I'm like, nope, you did not pass. Like, please excuse me.
Yes.
So if you ever see me in there, just know your girl's got you. Like, I got you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
But yeah, you get a lot of like, oh, you're so skinny and pretty. You have no reason to be self-conscious or anything like that. And I absolutely despise that because nobody knows how you see yourself in the mirror other than you.
Exactly. And I also get the opposite of that. I get body shamed every single day. Like every single day, like, oh, you look like a 12-year-old boy. Oh, you know, if it's like a dance where you're like shaking your ass, it's like, oh, what is she shaking? You know, like things
that
like
BBL.
I get that a lot. So it's like both sides of the spectrum. You can't win, especially as a woman. You cannot win.
Yes, exactly. And so that's kind of why I was like, oh, like she's like, fuck you guys. Like I'm not even gonna deal with you for one more minute. And like people. Like I've seen in your comment section where it's like you'll respond to somebody like saying like stop, like the one where you just did the boo 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 back down whatever, and you're with the scooters in the back. Yeah, and you're like no, and I'm like exactly like as you should know.
Yeah, he's told me to humble myself, and I'm like, for what?
Right.
For what? It's not that I feel like being humble just means like I don't ever think that I'm better than anybody else.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You can be confident without putting anybody else down.
For sure.
And I don't think you're allowed to think that you're hot. You're allowed to think that you're beautiful. You're allowed to think that you bring a lot to the table. And like you don't need to humble yourself from that.
Right. So there are days like I look in the mirror and I'm like, ugh. Like, look at this guy, like, look at this guy, and, like, whatever, like, I made a video, you probably did not see it, but I was, like, somebody said, like, stop posting your fat fucking rolls on TikTok, and I was like, no, I'm never gonna stop, like, ever,
like, stop.
Right, literally, whatever, but, so, yeah, that's kind of, you're awesome. So thank you for doing that on TikTok. So I did see in one of your lives that you're starting a jewelry line. That's awesome.
Yeah, I almost wore the necklace today too, and I should have. But
the gold one?
Yes. Well,
yes.
It comes in gold and silver.
Ooh,
I need to email them and see like what the release date is going to be. But it's just like a limited thing to begin with, and we'll see how it sells. And then I have ideas for like I'd like to do like zodiac and like crystal jewelry. So I'm into all that like witchy stuff. So right now it's just a necklace, little like star studs that say bad bitch, and then ear cuff that's really cute.
Yeah, awesome. That's awesome. I think that's great. And so you're working on some other stuff too. Obviously, you're using Instagram as a different outlet when TikTok gets a little too much. So, and I follow you on there too. So does Shane. And you're just honestly killing it. So, we just kind of wanted to bring you on here. So, we talked about your tattoos. We talked about your TikTok. You what? Oh, so one of the things on Shot 30, sorry about that, but I don't know how much you watched of Shot 30, but Shane almost every episode talks about OnlyFans. He's very intrigued by it.
Oh, I'm all in that cover. Yes.
Yes, so he is like, he's not on OnlyFans, even though 100% of his followers think he should be. So do you still do that? Is that something that you have fun with? Like, what?
However, I did it for only about like not even 2 months. I made a lot of money, and that was tempting to keep doing it. But the amount of hate I was getting for it was very overwhelming at the time, and I don't think my skin was thick enough then to be able to handle it. Just like, oh, you're going to traumatize your kids. Your kids are going to get so bullied for this and whatever. And I would never even posted anything crazy. Like, no hate to the girls that do. Like, absolutely get it, sis. But
right,
like,
for sure.
For me, I was just doing mostly lingerie stuff and like some boob every now and then, But I have been considering starting it again. I think my skin is way thicker after everything, the last 6 months, and I care even less what people think at this point.
Good for you, as you should, like 100%.
It's almost dumb to not capitalize on it. If you can I have a girlfriend that makes over $1 million a year.
That's insane.
Like, what?
That's insane.
It's nuts.
I was going to make an OnlyFans of my husband and not tell him, and then be like, hey, babe, you paid for this. Thank you so much. And I'm like, what? That's what I would do.
A lot of money on there, too. I have a couple guy friends that make a good amount of money.
Shane has a couple people that he's actually had on the podcast that are big into OnlyFans. I know he has a bodybuilder that did it. Also, I think... So he has a lot of fun episodes. He had a drag queen come on, and that guy was absolutely amazing. He was funny and fun, and doesn't he have an OnlyFans?
No, but he was talking about...
He was considering an OnlyFans. I thought he did have one. Yes, I consider it daily.
Should I? Shouldn't I?
So
it's like taking the power back out of it. You're gonna get objectified either way as a woman. So why not like, take the power back in it?
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. But I mean, I'm gonna do one. It's gonna be of Sean, my husband. I'm just gonna be like, oh, thanks for the new car, babe. That was you.
You'll make money that way too.
Yeah,
honestly.
100%. But yeah, so I did want to also bring up that Shot 30 podcast is sponsored by Mrs. Newbie's Cakes and Cookies. She does a fantastic job she actually did my wedding cake, and it was so amazing. She did cake and cupcakes. It's beautiful, so make sure you guys check her out on TikTok. She also has a Facebook page, Instagram. Make sure you guys put your orders in with Mrs. Newbie's Cakes and Cookies. She's also my aunt, so... So that's fun for me.
It's like whole family, but send me her link. I'll follow her too.
Yes, absolutely, I will. So the other thing that we were kind of talking about is younger women and seeing them have the confidence now, and that kind of, honestly, like I feel like our generation empowered the younger generation to feel like they can be whatever they want. Because like, I don't know how you grew up, but I know I grew up like feeling like, oh, I need to cover this, or oh, like that's not right, and stuff like that. And now, I mean, good for them, 100% good for them. But like they are booming, like they are just thriving, and it's amazing. Like
I've never seen confidence like that in teenagers. Like none of my friends were like that. I mean, I think we grew up in a different time though. Like you could not be skinny enough when we were younger. It was all like Leaf models, Kate Moss and stuff, and like. I've never been like a large person, but I never felt skinny enough. And we had to wear, remember Frankie V's? Those like super low rise jeans that like literally, if you like see the top of your vagina.
Low rise jeans are the worst.
They're the worst. And like, they're not flattering on anybody. No. So I feel like we just have like a different body standard than we do now. And so girls feel like more accepted in their own skin. And I think even like Lizzo and stuff like that have really helped like kind of change the mold.
Yes, definitely. So you have 2 girls and a boy, right? So you're obviously raising some badass queens and a little king. And obviously they're young, and I don't want to touch on your kids too much because I know you want to keep that stuff private. But like, they are obviously proud of mom. They have to be proud of mom. Like, they see what you bring to the table for them, right?
They think it's weird. We'll like go out in public, and people will like, not every day, but like it has happened that I'm with them, and people like want pictures with me, and they're like, what? Like, it's very, I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time.
Yeah.
So to like overnight have this life, it's been a little bit of an adjustment, but they do think it's really, they ask to be in my TikToks all the time.
Right. No, yeah, for sure. And I totally understand why. Yeah, and that's great. Like, I'm glad that you're raising some strong ass kids, because that's something not every kid gets. So congratulations to you.
I just want them to know that, like, at any point in your life, you can change your life and build yourself up. And I want them to see that, like, I'm doing this for them, and I feel empowered, because then they're going to feel empowered, and just be like, hopefully a good role model.
Yeah. So I'm 29, and I'm actually right now changing my whole life. So like I said earlier, I've been a recruiter for the last 10 years. I've done construction recruiting, trucking, all the kinds of recruiting you could think of. Did it all. Yeah. And COVID kind of like kicked my ass when it came to doing my job and all of that. And I lost my job last year. And that's when I started following you, as I lost my job in April, and I started, really being on TikTok a lot, obviously, because I was depressed, because I'm like, I lost my job, all that stuff. Then I got a new job and lost that in April of this year. So now, and that was due to COVID again. So now here I am at 29 years old. I have no idea what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, or what I want to be when I grow up, but...
But this opportunity got handed to you for a reason. And you can either keep staying if you were unhappy in that job or whatever. You can keep on that same path, or you can be like, this was given to me for a reason, and now I can turn it around.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think those kind of like forks in the road come at different times in your life. And when you're close to 30, I feel like 30s is when like you kind of, I was like, I like my 30s, so you couldn't pay me to go back to my 20s.
So my husband and I were actually in Las Vegas, and we went to California, and I was 100% like, okay, we're going to California. Guess who's there? But but we were just in Vegas, and we went with my parents and my sister. It was just kind of a vacation for the kids, but as adults, because my sister's 23 and all of that. So my husband went with us and everything, and he's like, babe, we can do whatever we want. We're 30. And I'm like,
no, I'm not.
You're 30. Yeah. I was still 28. I just turned 29 May 6th. So I was still 28. I'm like, you're 30. I am over here 28 still. So you just stay over there with your 30-year-old self.
I remember when I was 29 turning 30, I was like, this is the end of the world. This is the end of it.
So I had a full panic when I turned 25. And that is because my little sister, I don't know if you have any siblings. You do? Okay. So I have an older brother. I have a little sister and a little brother. And my little sister is my favorite person in the world. But that little shit texted me every day, 2 weeks leading up to my 25th birthday. You're almost a quarter of a century. You're almost a quarter of a century. And I'm like,
that is like a sister, yeah.
I'm like, you're the worst. Like, stop it. So now she's going to be 24, and she'll be 25 next year, and I'm going to give her a whole year of it. Like,
you should. But don't, like, I remember thinking that was such a big deal, and now I'm like, God, that was nothing. That was nothing.
Yes, 100%. And then I did see, so you have a puppy. In your old TikToks, so do you have 2 dogs or just 1?
2. I don't know where she is, but I have a litlittle, like, rescue dog, too. She's maybe, like, 15 pounds. Her name's Miko.
And then you just got a Mastiff that's already giant.
I don't know. I tend to make these impulsive choices. Honestly, part of the reason was, I mean, you're probably aware my address has been leaked multiple times.
So for security.
Yes. And I live in this house with my kids alone. And I thought about moving, but during, like, right now there's literally nothing on the market, and I'd be wasting my money, honestly. So I was like, we're getting a guard dog. Like, that's it. Yeah. So I got it for a good I got her for a good reason. She's currently destroying my life, but, it'll be fine.
What's her name?
Jolene.
Oh, I just watched the Dolly Parton documentary on Netflix, and I was like, I do too. She's great. And she's another person that's like women empowerment, and like, but she did it really subtly back in her day. Like, I guess I didn't realize like how subtly she dropped her women empowerment stuff. And I'm like, wow. So now, obviously, being opened up to that side of like that community and everything, and rewatching that, I was like, huh, wow.
Yeah,
like,
unapologetically herself.
Yes, even in like the 60s and stuff like that. I'm like, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah. So I just watched that. And so back to the dogs though. I have 3 dogs and 3 cats. So
are you crazy?
A little.
That's tight?
No, they don't. So my husband had a dog and I had a dog when we got together. Mine is a German Shepherd Lab, but she looks like a black German Shepherd. Her name is Willa Grace. Like Will and Grace.
Oh my God, yes.
So, but that's, so I don't know if, did you ever watch True Blood? Maybe.
Yes.
Okay. So Willa Burrell, I loved that name. I thought it was so beautiful. So I was like, when I get a dog, her name's Willa. The end. So we have Willa and then Zoe, and then he had Zoe, I had Willa, and then we got together. We've been together for 4 years, going on like 100, it feels like some days. But we got, last May he was born, we got him in July, a micro American Bulldog, and he's yeah, and he's gray, and he has 2 different color eyes, and his name is Drago, because I'm also a huge Game of Thrones fan.
Yeah, I who isn't, honestly?
Literally. So I was part of I would share the stuff where like, I've never watched a Game of Thrones, I'm never gonna watch an episode of Game of Thrones, and I'm like, last year I watched it 3 times in 1 year.
It's addicting.
Yes, 100%.
Because it's like the first time you feel like you missed stuff, so you have to go back and like.
For sure. Yes. Yeah. And so his name is Drago Storm. And we're actually discussing getting a 4th dog. So I saw that you had 2 dogs. I'm like, we have to talk about dogs.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I used to have 3 when I was married. But he took one of them because she was like a puppy at the time, and I have 80% custody of them. That's just what worked for both of us.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I can't have 3 kids and 3 dogs. Like, you got to take one of these. So he took the puppy at the time. And then my mom, the other dog we had was actually my mom's dog. So she went back to my mom's house.
Okay. And your mom actually just made an appearance on your TikTok.
Yeah, she hates being like
Does
the center
she?
of attention or like in the spotlight in any way. I was like, Mom, come on. Like, people ask to see you all the time.
Right.
And she felt awkward doing it, but I was very proud of her.
Yeah, awesome. So she I think that's the only one she's been in, right? Like, she hasn't. Yeah, that was awesome. That was close to Mother's Day too, right?
I tried to do it around then, but she wouldn't do it on Mother's Day, so I caught her at a good time, like around.
For sure.
Yeah, I honestly feel like some of the reason that I am who I am is because, and she's working on it now, but my mom was never super secure. And I think like a lot of us, we kind of got body issues from our moms, and this was not her fault. She was raised the same way, you know, but I remember her being on diets my entire life. And just like, she talks about that she never felt like she could be herself anymore after she got married and had kids. And she felt like really lost for a long time. Yeah. And what's crazy is now she tells me that because of me, she feels more like herself. And we do learn from our kids. So I guess I get that. But she's like working on a half sleeve right now and like dyes her hair purple sometimes. I'm like, okay, Mom, yes,
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And it's awesome. Like, that probably like warms your whole heart because you've like we had talked about earlier, we get into this like stigma when we're younger, and that's how we were brought up, and that's how our parents were brought up too. And you're opening your mom's eyes. Like, who would have ever thought, you know? That's crazy and amazing.
I mean, just like, she's my best friend. She's literally done everything for me. She's like my entire world besides obviously my kids, and I just want to see her happy. Right. You know? Yeah. I always feel like when I get rich, I will pay their house off. I'll do whatever for them. Like, that will be my first priority.
That's always what I said when I win the lottery. Not if, when. When I win the lottery, I'm buying my parents all houses.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Shane and I were actually just talking about, and that's another reason that we did this podcast, is because we're trying to reach a different kind of dynamic. Because obviously he's funny and everything goes great and everything like that. But finding a different way to connect with women as a man is probably not the easiest. So here we are trying to get him that audience and bring him into a different way, because he's a very understanding man. He's a very, yes, he's awesome. But we were just talking about how my entire family is women, like the whole family. I have an uncle and a brother, but my brother's gay, which amazing, love him, and that's great. But so my uncle is like basically the only man in the family unless they're married in. Well, I do have a cousin, but he's very young still. But so we have my grandma, and then my uncle, and then my mom and two sisters. And then I was the second of my mom's kids, second grandkid. So I was the first granddaughter, but then I have a sister. All my cousins are girls until like 2013, I think.
A lot of estrogen.
A lot of estrogen. It can be overwhelming. And
you can tell her about my tampon bill.
He said that we could talk about his tampon bill. So Shane married my Aunt Timmery, and she has 3 girrs, and they're all teenagers, and well, Cassidy's almost 20, which is insane, but yeah, it's a rough.
Do they all like sync up, and everyone's curious about it?
Are they all synced up?
No, they're all on different courses.
They're on different cycles.
That's the worst.
It's the worst. I deal with one every other week.
Being hormonal every other week.
Yep, every other week.
Yeah,
but
my poor son.
Yeah, so my animals, like I said, I don't have any kids yet, but my animals are almost all girls. Like, I have 3 cats, 3 dogs. I have 1 boy dog and 1 boy cat. Everything else is a girl. So at one point it was all girls, and my husband's like, can we get a fucking boy? Like, please, for just 1 boy? I'm like, we can. But the 4th dog, I told him it has to be a girl, so.
Yeah, I only have ever had girl dogs. I am not dealing with things that boy dogs do. I'm not doing the like humping situation. I can't.
So Drago just turned a year old in May, or we're in May. He turned a year old on the 17th, and he doesn't know how to hump. He doesn't know how. So I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Well, my friend Madison, he brought his dog over, and he started humping Drago, and I'm like, no, do not teach him how to hump, dog. Like, we're not doing that today. But we're breeding him in September, and luckily no. So that's what I thought. I told Sean, I'm like, man, he's gonna have to learn how to hump, and I really don't want to deal with that because my girls hump each other. Like,
yeah, it's like a dominance thing.
Yes, and but they do artificial, so he won't have to hump anything. But luckily, I don't have to deal with it. Other than the $500 vet bill, he ate socks, and that was lovely.
Oh my God, what? Why do dogs do this? Like, what is wrong?
Like, literally, so he was feeling sick, and we brought him to the vet, and they're like, he probably just ate something. He's going to be not feeling great for a while, and I got home, and 20 minutes later after the vet, he literally shit out a whole sock. Like, my husband wears a size 13 shoe. Like, it's not a small sock.
I know that.
I don't know.
And one day she ate an entire tray of brownies and leftover chicken, like a whole thing. My dad ate like 1 million chicken wings. And she ate the whole thing of chicken wings and had to go to the vet. And the same, we paid a bunch of money and she was fine. Like,
so I don't know how far into my TikTok you've been, but I'm in a neighbor war situation right now.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, so I'm in a neighbor war situation, and this woman, so she literally will hoot and holler at every possible thing that you could ever imagine. She has fought with me, like, because, so I'll just tell you one of the stories. So when we first moved in, my dog Willa, she's obviously a German Shepherd. She's got the full ears. She can hear you in California right now, probably. Yeah, so my husband was home sick one day, and Willa was barking, and he didn't know what was going on. He's like, what is going on? Like, why are you barking? And he looks over, and we have all these walnut trees in our yard, and obviously walnut trees drop giant green walnuts. And she has like a whole ass walnut tree in her yard, but she's throwing walnuts over the fence into our yard Dead ass.
No.
Throwing walnuts into our yard, and I'm just like, so Sean's just looking out the window just to see, like, hey, seeing why my dog's barking. And she sees him, and she's like, and I'm like, why? Like, in what? Like, flipping him off and doing all that stuff. I'm like, for what reason? And it's so bad. And then she, so whenever we have bonfires, last year she called the fire department 4 times on us, just for a bonfire.
Stop.
Seriously. So we started apologizing to our fire department. We're like, I'm so sorry. Like, we grilled out tonight. Are you guys hungry? Like, they came in full gear one day because, like, they were so busy one night. And, like, I'm like, really? Like, this is what we're doing? You're really going to call the fire department for? And we have a controlled fire pit. Like, it's bricks. Like, it's not like an open fire. Like, it's not. So we had a bonfire for my birthday, and it was just me and my husband, so it wasn't anything crazy. Nobody was getting loud or anything. And literally, I think it was going for maybe 30 minutes, maybe a total of 30 minutes so far. And then she opens her back door, and you can hear it because, like, our house sits up and hers is down, so her backyard is next to where our house is at.
Okay.
And the wind was blowing the opposite direction of her house on my birthday, okay? And she's like, you guys are fucking trailer trash, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bitch, I own a house next door to yours.
Yeah.
I own a house next door to yours. Please explain the trailer trash situation. She's constantly
Every time.
Yes.
Every time.
And so I'm just so yeah, we have some neighbor wars. She's walked on our property. She's sprayed weed killer on my property, and I don't use it specifically because I have dogs.
Right.
So when Drago got sick and we had to go to the vet, I was like, you know, if my dog is sick because of this woman, I'm going to go at her. And I was boiling at the vet. I'm like texting Sean. I'm like, I'm going to fucking kill her. Like, I'm going to go at this bitch. Like, we're going to have full on. I'm going to go in her house. Like, but I'm not. For legal reasons, I'll never do that. But I would never do that. But Sean got really drunk one day, and he jumped the fence. She has cameras on my house.
Oh my God, no.
Yes. So he jumped her fence one day, and she has it on documentation. So if Muscatine Police Department wants to come at me, come on. So he came inside, and he was obviously like, my husband doesn't drink very much. He smokes. So he was like, babe. And I'm like, what? He's like, I just booped her cameras. I'm like, what are you talking about? You booped her cameras? He's like, yeah, I just jumped the fence, and I went boop to all of her cameras. I'm like, no, you fucking did not. You're on camera booping those. She sees you.
What was the thought process behind that? But is it illegal to have cameras on your house?
So I've actually called the department, like the police department. I've called the city, everything. She's creeped in my window. She's done all of that stuff. I've called the police, and they're like, pretty much just blew me off. So I'm actually getting cameras for my house because she'll like walk on my property and stuff like that. She's threatened my dogs.
I have cameras on mine too. Sometimes it seems like the police are not super helpful with that kind of stuff. It has to be very black and white. Like, somebody has to be like, you have to have video of somebody at your door with a machete for them to do something.
Yes,
like
100%.
I've had to call the police a couple times in the last few months.
I've heard. But at least you got a new shop for your permanent makeup and stuff. I saw that. Yeah. It's so cute. I just saw the little clips, but it's super cute. The energy
is like so good, and I feel, you don't realize when bad energy is like rubbing off onto you. You're just kind of like going through the motions.
Right.
Now being in my own space with like, I saged it and like, all that. I feel a million times better. Like, my whole life seems to have kind of like flipped this switch and like almost like a fresh start for everything. And I think you can tell in my content, honestly,
100%.
For a long time, my content was not, I won't say forced, but more like I was kind of figuring out who I was, and like I kind of lost myself for a minute, because when you grow a following that fast, you're like, okay, what do they want to see? And so I think I got lost in that, and just had some influences in my life that weren't, the most genuine, and it kind of rubbed off on me. And I think even the past like month, even the past few weeks, like something just changed in my brain. And a lot of people are saying that they can tell in my content that I've like, I'm happy now and I'm being more genuine and I'm like, it's more like me now.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure. So, and that's kind of what people are saying, like, is that you're obsessed with yourself now versus your old content. Well, good. 100%. Yeah. So being obsessed with yourself, I'm sure you get some messages, and Shane and I were actually talking about it. What is the creepiest message that you've gotten? Like, if you had to pinpoint just one where you just felt sick, like you're just like, are you fucking kidding that happened? You what?
Oh my God, I get dick pics weekly. Yeah, that's the audacity. What's funny is sometimes men will like have conversations with themselves in my DMs, and I got a message this morning that I happened to see that it's literally this guy, and then I scrolled up, and he's been messaging me since last October, and just like once a month he sends me another thing like, "Hi, beautiful, good morning," or like whatever, and like those aren't necessarily creepy, but when you see the like how persistent it is. And I like screen recorded me like scrolling the messages and sent it to my ex-husband. I was like, this is what's happening in my DMs at the moment. I don't know. I feel like I get asked for feet pics a lot. I get the like sugar daddy offers a lot. But then I get the mean ones too that are like, fuck your kids, like, you know, just like weird stuff.
Oh my gosh. Like, leave the kids out of it.
They were weirder when I had an OnlyFans. Like, I got a lot of shit.
For sure. So Shane's actually had a couple different TikTokers, and like, I would definitely say so far, you're like, hey. But he's had like Raquel Raines on here. He just had somebody, so she's not actually on TikTok. Her name is Jennifer. She's got all these tattoos and stuff. She was talking about her OnlyFans, and she had it like for like 3 days and like went crazy. But I think she's dealt with a couple creepers on there too, for sure, as far as that stuff goes. So
OnlyFans DMs are disgusting. Like disgusting. I
can't imagine.
If I do start it again, I'm not doing DMs because it just makes me feel so degraded and like these men are literal dogs. Like they are just so gross.
Yeah,
like, I can't most of the messages, they're so nasty.
I mean, you can say whatever you want on here, but if you're you don't have to by any means.
They just like to be very graphic about what they would like to do to you, and it's things that like, and I'm no prude. Like I'm pretty open about things, but it's things that you're like, I would never do that in a million years. Like, what is wrong with you that you're thinking these things?
Yes, 100%. That's, gosh. And you say that with your DMs, and like, I've messaged you on Instagram because in one of your lives, you're like, if you DM me on Instagram, I'm more likely to see it versus on TikTok. And I have DM'd you on TikTok, but it's just mine and Shane's lives, so just disregard because we were talking about you. So, so I was just like, hey, come on. We've been really excited to have you on here. It's been a pretty exciting thing, but
Thank you.
But on mine that I sent you last week to even arrange this podcast, I said like, I feel like I'm bugging you, and that's because I had only sent you like 2 other messages, but I'm like, I feel like I'm bugging you, and so I could imagine like seeing like other people's that you don't see very often, and then once you get into the message, you scroll up and you're like, oh, you've had a whole conversation with yourself on a regular basis.
I remember that happened with you. I was like, oh shit, I missed these, and I feel bad when that happens, but if I go a couple days without looking at the DMs, then there's just like too many to go through. So then I'll go in and see like the top ones.
Yeah, I can't imagine like what your notifications look like, because Shane says that when his started to really blow up, I think he was at dinner, and so when we're off of here, make sure to check out Shot 30 Podcast TikTok, because it's so comical, like that what people will believe is real and what's not real.
I know.
So he blew up, and he had like, I think it was 3,000 notifications. 360,000 notifications just at dinner when his stuff started to blow up. And then he started breaking the like 1 million views and stuff like that. And so I can only imagine, you have 3.2 million followers, and
I have my notifications turned off.
Oh.
Like, on every app, because it would just be like all
yes, yeah.
So when I go in to like look, you know how they like pop up red how many you have? They just always say 99 plus.
Oh, that's insane.
Like I don't know the exact number now, but
yes, I couldn't even imagine. That's
crazy.
Amazing. And you're honestly, congratulations on your success though, because I think you're doing so much great work that even with anything else that could possibly be going on, nothing specific by any means, you hold yourself to a higher standard, and that is amazing. And the women that do see you, we appreciate you.
You know, I feel like sometimes drama is a good thing. It not in the sense that like I welcome it by any means,
right?
But it's like brings you more positivity. People see you for you when you go through hard shit like that, and I feel like it's created like a stronger bond almost between me and my followers. Like, yeah, and you know, I hold myself to a higher standard because I have daughters and I have kids that I want, you know, to be an example for. And not even just that, like there's a lot of like younger people on TikTok that follow me that call me mom, you know, and I feel like I need to be an example to them too. And
that's the one you just posted with Brittany today, where it's like, my fans call me mama. We were watching it, waiting for you to get on. I'm like, because we're like, maybe she's going to go live today. Like, we'll check her out before, like, because I've been in your life where you get ready for stuff.
But I do plan to go live after this because people have been asking me. So I will go live.
Perfect. Well, I'll make sure to be in there and moderate the heck out of them. Be like, get out of here, you fool.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, so pretty much that's all I really wanted to talk about. Is there anything that's coming up in your life that like you want to put out there, or anything kind of new and exciting that maybe you haven't been able to drop yet, like to tell anybody?
Well, okay, I'll give you a little. I don't know how much I accidentally let it slip before, so I'll re-let it slip, I guess. I'm writing a book right now that's almost kind of like a bad bitch manual. Basically, like it's going to tell my story and a lot of what I've been through, and how cyberbullying affects mental health and things like that. And, you know, just like being a stay-at-home mom to like all of a sudden having this as your career. Right. But then also I have like very publicly hit rock bottom at this point, and twice. And between my breakup and then, you know, what's happened the last few months, which anybody that's listening that doesn't know, I've just been getting cyberbullied very much, which isn't necessary. And the only thing that I'll say about it is like, I will say that I'm a fan of some of like the, how do I want to say this? Because it's not the girls. I know who you're talking about.
Maybe we'll cut it out, but other ones, and I like their content, and I like some of the messages that they have to offer and stuff like that. But as far as like the adults not acting accordingly, that's just a little bit like, man, like do better, because what's the point? Like,
and you know, I always say like, you know, hurt people, and I feel like if you live in that negativity, that has nothing to do with me.
Right, 100%.
So, I wish them healing. That's what I always say, and I genuinely mean that. Like, it's not like a sarcastic, like, I feel like the more people that heal, the better like vibrations in the universe, and then like it benefits all of us.
Yes.
But yeah, so.
Oh, are you back?
Oh, there you are. Yes.
Okay. So.
I don't know what's going on with my internet.
That's okay. So you're talking about you're writing a book, and it's going to tell your story. So you are the CEO of Bad Moms, and now you're writing kind of like a bad bitch manual. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Like how, you know, I get asked a lot like how to pick yourself back up out of like what after you hit rock bottom, or like how to get out of depression and stuff like that. And so I'm just gonna talk about what has worked for me, and hopefully do a little bit of like a book tour after, if it goes well. And just awesome. Me and Paige. I don't know if you follow Paige. Okay, she's my best friend. For anybody that doesn't know, she's very into mental health awareness. We've talked about creating like a self-care kit and stuff like that. So yeah, we have a lot of things.
Awesome. That's amazing. I think that's a really great. So in your book, I do have a question, because I know it's something I wanted to talk about, but obviously not trying to be nervous and talk to you like a normal human. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is like you did kind of overcome abuse. And that's something that not everybody really necessarily, so you dealt with a lot of victim blaming. And I was in a relationship for 4 years, and I actually didn't realize that I was being abused. Obviously, the physical part, I was like, okay, that's abuse. But the mental stuff, like, you almost don't know it's happening until you're out of the situation. So is that something that you're going to kind of bring up so they can, like, find their path through there.
Never stop talking about that.
Good.
I will.
Awesome.
I think because when I came out of it, I was like, holy shit, if I didn't even realize that was happening. Other people must be in this situation too.
Yeah.
Narcissistic abuse genuinely changes your brain. It literally changes the chemistry of your brain. And a lot of people have, it's called CPTSD, so complex PTSD, which is more like long-term. And I've had to do like EMDR therapy, it's called, to kind of like heal those parts of your brain.
Yeah.
And yeah, I felt like I kind of went through it twice. I felt like I went through it when I was in that relationship. And then I felt like the invalidating of my abuse and turning it around and saying, she's lying, she just wants attention, was being gaslit by thousands of people on the internet. And so it was extremely triggering to have to be gaslit all over again, but this time on so much a bigger scale.
Yes.
However, I feel like coming out of that, I feel more healed than I even did before. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, hopefully I can share that experience too and how I kind of overcome that stuff too.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, that's great. On a lighter note, what would you say is your favorite movie of all time? Just curious, because it's asked a lot on this podcast.
Okay, so I have two. And I know what people are going to say about this. Mean Girls is one of my favorite movies.
Okay. Yeah.
That's always been. It's always been that way.
Who would you say you identify with in Mean Girls?
Janice.
Okay. Yes.
110%. I mean, if you see like throwback pictures of me, I had like the short black hair. I was very much the outcast, like very much like not a popular kid.
But according to your haters, you're not punk.
I was not a cheerleader by any means, you know.
And I was, and I shifted that as an adult.
I think that like little goth girl or whatever is still very much in me. And you know, she just comes out in different ways now. I'm like fully tattooed because of it, you know, so I don't necessarily relate to the plastics in any way. But I thought it was a, you know, funny movie. Yeah. I also like, have you seen V for Vendetta?
I think I have seen it, but I guess I can't say how Shane's seen it, and he's over here doing that at you.
Yes. So. Yeah. It's with Natalie Portman and the guy that has the anonymous mask is how people usually know him. Yeah. But yeah, I loved that movie too. Okay. It's like those are very different genres, but
yes. So Shane actually asked me on my last podcast here. He said, "What's your favorite movie?" And I was like, "Beaches." Like without hesitation, Beaches, because my mom and I watched it when I was younger, and then I was so. Since I got, like, the date with you and confirmation, I've been listening to podcasts to get ready, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to crush this. I think
and you have.
And thank you. But, so I was listening to my last podcast that I did with Shane, and I was like, man, I had so many cooler answers than Beaches. Like, really? Like, that's what I'm saying here is Beaches? On my way here to, like, amp up for this podcast, I've been listening to Queen the whole way here. In studio, I was... So
Me and Rhapsody is like one of the best made songs of all time.
Yes, and the movie, honestly, like they did a fantastic job. So I would say that's one of my favorite movies, Shane. If you want to add that to my bio when we blow up,
add that one too. That sounds cooler.
Yes, 100%. But yeah, so I was like, man, Beaches. Nobody even knows what that is. Do you know what Beaches is? You do. Yeah. It's a tear-jerking, like, and he's like, oh, it's probably a sappy love movie, and I'm like, actually, it's about best friends.
It's a different kind of love, but yeah. No, my mom always liked that stuff too, so yeah, I watched all that stuff.
All the Sandra Bullock movies, like my grandma, and honestly, all my aunts and my grandma and my mom, we all drink Bloody Marys and watch The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood. Like,
oh my God, I love that. That's a good one too.
Yes, so if you're ever in Iowa, make sure you come to our Bloody Mary Yaya Sisterhood parties.
Say less. Yeah, I'm there. Yeah.
So it's funny because I actually told my husband, because I am with him every day of my life, and I'm like, he's like, you're going to do so great. I don't know why you're nervous, whatever. And I'm like, well, I mean, she's amazing. And what if everything goes amazing and then we become friends? And then I'm going on these TikTok trips and you're like, what's up? And I'm like, bye.
I was going to say, when you said you came out to California, I'm like, next time, just call me. I will give you my number. Just text me.
Yes.
That would be so fun.
Yes, I agree. I was like, I'm going to blow up and you're going to be like, uh-oh.
I think I'm trying to think the next trip we're doing. Oh, we're going to Chicago in July.
Say less, because that's 3 hours from me, and I will come to you. Yes,
okay,
I will come to you.
Pinky?
Do we have what?
Do you follow Pinky? She was on that trip with me in Napa. She's the
I don't follow her, but I did see her. So I do know who you're talking about. Because I didn't know who she was until your stuff. So, but I did see her. Yes.
We follow her. She's literally the funniest person I've ever met.
I did go through this stuff.
She is doing like a meet and greet.
Oh. Dang it, you lost it. You got frozen again. So Pinky's doing a meet and greet in Chicago?
Yeah, okay. So we're all going to support her, basically. All the girls that were on that Napa trip. So you should totally come.
100%. I will.
Yes.
Like, I'm not kidding. I grew up in Chicago, and I will be there. Like,
I grew up. I was born in Chicago.
Really? So I was born in the Quad City area. That's where we're based out of. If you're from Chicago, obviously the Quad Cities is probably somewhat familiar. Iowa, Illinois area. And then grew up in Downers Grove. So it's one of the suburbs.
So I was born in a suburb too. It's called Skokie. I don't know that people, Yeah. So back then it was like very Jewish. I've heard now it's, I think Pinky told me it might be like a very like Indian neighborhood now, but regardless, that's where I was born.
So,
yes, we're all going to visit her.
That's awesome. Yeah, 100%.
Bring your husband. They're all bringing their husbands. I clearly do not have one, so I'm bringing my mom. So.
Awesome. Well, I will say that some of my friends have said like, oh, tell her. And I'm like, no, never, ever. Never, ever. Because if you did something stupid, I would have to unfriend you because I'm not going to not be Cody's friend.
Yeah.
So.
You no longer get to be so.
Right. Yep. Yes. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. But, no, that would, and I'm sure the girls would love you too.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I feel like I relate a lot with you guys. Like, I watch Paige's stuff, and honestly, like, I'd like to kind of continue to do this, and if things go well, maybe Shane and I are going to work something to, like, incorporate me into episodes and stuff like that, but he's been getting a lot of the TikTokers on the podcast and continuing to do that. I think tonight he's doing a podcast with Hot Gina. I don't know if you've seen her, but she's based out of Chicago, too. And he was talking to her about me doing your podcast, and she was like, oh, she's so sweet. Did you know she has a whole fan page? And we're like, yep, we got it. 100% got it. But she was like, that's going to be so cool. And so, I mean, we do have quite a few different, TikTokers and influencers and stuff like that. I definitely say, like, for me as myself and not necessarily Shot 30, I would say you're my favorite.
Well, thank you. You're now my favorite podcast. So
really, that's amazing. I hope so, because I mean, Shane does a really good job. He's worked really hard on it, and it's all mostly comedy. Like, he does stuff about where he'll just eat like the hottest fucking pepper in the world and like be wholly miserable for like days. But he's committed.
That's such a guy thing. Like, what woman is like, you know what I'm going to do? Like, it just doesn't. I mean, hey, if it's working for him, you go right ahead and do your thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not eating hot peppers, but.
Yeah. But, yeah, so he's doing amazing. And, I mean, so we'll probably keep you on for a couple minutes here once we're done. But I feel like we got a pretty solid show in here. So I'm gonna wrap us up. This is Emma Coghill with Shot 30 Podcast here with Kodye Elyse on TikTok and Instagram. What else are you on? I know, so we've actually been trying to find, sorry, I guess we're gonna keep going. I've been trying to find, so obviously when you're going into something where you're meeting, idol. I guess I would say I adore you. I adore you. I think you're amazing. And I look up to you a lot. So where else can I find you? Because I really could only find you on the one podcast from back in November, and then I found Instagram and TikTok. But if you Google you, there's stuff that says. But otherwise, what other platforms are you utilizing right now that we could maybe tag in the bio or something like that to get you as much as you can out of this?
I post mostly on TikTok and Instagram because TikTok content takes a while.
Yeah.
I have a Snapchat. I feel like I'm a little too old for it. I post there when I can. Paige and I are talking about starting a podcast again, so I'll get you that info whenever we get around to that. But yeah, I feel like Instagram is really where I've been spending most of my time.
Yeah.
Because it seems to be a more like positive community.
Yeah.
So I'd say they're probably the
awesome.
Easy. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm going to get us wrapped up, and then we'll keep you on here for a little bit, and then let you go. So this is Shot 30 Podcast with Emma and Kodye. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and CastBox. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you like what you hear. And make sure if you like Emma Coghill to hit Shane up and tell him that I deserve to take over Shot 30 because I did so great. And... yeah. But really, though, make sure you guys give him a follow because he does work really hard on this. And thank you again, Kodye, for coming in. You've been amazing. I appreciate it so much. I'm really excited about this episode. I think it's going to come out great and give us both some good whoosh. So,
yes, I do too. Yeah.
So,
and thank you for having me. This
yes,
was fun.
Of course.